Hi everyone, it's Ron Regan here. I'm the co-founder of HKExcel and also the head of economics at HKExcel. Okay, so for the past few years, actually, my team and myself, we have an obsession. And that obsession is to help any IB student to improve by at least 3 levels. Okay, and to get at least a level 6. Today I'm going to cover a question that is on theory of the firm, which is a part of the syllabus that a lot of higher level students fear. But at HKExcel, we have a saying, and that is every essay is the same. And that is because if you have a concrete strategy and a set of rules you follow and a general outline you follow, you can apply the same outline to any sort of question and get the same results. Okay, so today I prepared one of the most common questions that will show up, and that is evaluate the view that greater economic efficiency will always be achieved in perfect competition compared to monopoly. This type of question is very common, and I would say in 30% of all paper 1 in IB's history, there has been a similar question like this in the paper 1, and which is about comparing 2 different market structures. Okay, so a very common type of question we're looking at. Okay, so whenever you approach these questions, I recommend you to look at 3 aspects. Okay, the first aspect is going to be allocative and productive efficiency. Allocative and productive efficiency. Okay, so allocative efficiency, the definition is just the right amount produced in society's point of view. So it's going to be achieved when MC equals to AR. Alright, that's allocative efficiency. For productive efficiency, the definition is lowest average cost. So that's MC equals to AC. Average cost, not total cost. Okay, so this is something you got to memorize. The second aspect you can look at when looking at these theory of the firm question, comparing 2 different market structure, is price and quantity. Okay, so according to economic theories, actually certain market structures tend to charge a higher price than other market structures, and I'll teach you how to explain that in a second. And the third aspect you should think about is our other arguments. So for this part, others, you actually need to memorize it. Okay, but for allocative and productive efficiency, it's the same every single time. Okay, so what I recommend students to do is to have sophisticated thought. That means hitting the points that are on the marking scheme and use a simple structure. So if you're able to hit all the points on the marking scheme and use a simple structure, that's the best thing that could happen to you, because you're hitting on the points, but you're presenting in a simple manner that examiners can easily understand, right? So the structure I recommend is just going to for and against. Okay, so arguments for the statement you put in the first section of your essay. Arguments against the statement put in the second section of your essay. Okay, so before you really talk about arguments for and arguments against, of course you need to define all the terms, right? So in your first paragraph, you can say something. So what I would say is you define all the terms that are in the question. Okay, so define monopoly, and then also define perfect competition. Okay, and perhaps also define economic efficiency. So when you define perfect competition, basically you just need to talk about 3 assumptions of monopoly. That's I think the best way to define a market structure. And then, so 3 assumptions are going to be there will be high barriers to entry, only one firm, and there will be pricing power for monopoly, for example. Okay, so 3 assumptions. For perfect competition, also come up with 3 assumptions. So infinite firms, no barriers to entry, and firms are price takers, something like that. Just 3 assumptions. That's very easy. And then economic efficiency, you can define it as, so economic efficiency is a very general term. It could refer to productive efficiency, which is producing at the lowest average cost, or it could refer to allocative efficiency, which is the optimal quantity in society's point of view. Economic efficiency could also be improved when a certain market structure brings social benefits to society. Okay, so that's how I would structure my introductory. So I would define all 3 terms. Okay, then let's go to the body of the essay. Okay, so if you look at the body of the essay, I've already have an outline here. Arguments for and arguments against, right? So in terms of arguments for, as I said, you always look at the first aspect you always look at is productive and allocative efficiency, right? So it is the fact that monopolies are not allocative nor productive efficient. Okay, so a lot of students do not know how to explain this, and I'll show you right now. So the way I recommend you to explain it is by using a diagram. Okay, so this is, you basically draw a monopoly diagram. So I'll draw on here. Okay, so the downward sloping demand curve, and an MR curve that's twice as steep, and then you have an MC curve right here. Okay, so the firm will always produce where MC equals to MR. So at this point, it will produce a quantity where MC equals MR. So at this quantity Q, and the price is determined by the demand curve. So that's going to be at P right here. All right. So after that, we've drawn our AC curve. So what's important to know about the AC curve is that the minimum of the AC curve must be where the MC cuts it. So the MC cuts AC at the minimum of AC. If you do not draw that, you may get marks taken off because there's a mathematical reason behind that. You don't really need to explain. Okay, so the firm will produce that quantity Q. But now let's think about how can a firm achieve productive efficiency. It achieves productive efficiency when MC equals to AC, right? At the minimum of AC, so at around this quantity, at Q2, let's say. Okay. So therefore, you could argue in your essay, you can say something like, the firm will not be productive efficient. And the reason is because it will produce at Q, where MC equals to MR, but it will not produce at Q2, which is where MC equals to AC. Therefore, it will not achieve productive efficiency. Then now let's look at allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency occurs when MC equals to AR, right, which is also the demand. Okay, so it will be at this quantity. Let's label it Q3. Make it clearer, it's right here. Okay, Q3. So, the same logic here. Monopolies will not be allocative efficient because it will profit maximize, produce at Q where MC equals to MR. Therefore, it will not produce at Q3, which is where allocative efficiency is achieved. Okay? So it's pretty simple. Just draw a diagram and show that it is not productive and allocative efficient. Okay. So now let's look at our next argument. Okay. So the next argument is that perfect competition are allocative and productive efficient. So now let's go back to the structure of this essay. So we're looking at arguments 4, right? So the statement in the essay is evaluate the view that greater economic efficiency is achieved in perfect competition. So now so when we're arguing for the position, we're basically saying that perfect competition is better, right? So perfect competition are allocatively and productive efficient. This argument will go under an argument 4. Okay, so the explanation is very similar as to what you do in Monopoly. Okay. So we draw a perfect competition diagram. So perfect competition diagram, what you need to be aware of is that the demand curve is going to be perfectly elastic. Okay. So let me just fix this a bit. The demand curve is going to be perfectly elastic right here. Okay, because the reason for this is because firms are actually price takers. Okay, so they will only be willing to sell. They can only sell at market price. And the reason it is all firms are producing exactly the same goods. Okay, not important for this question. Okay. So perfectly elastic demand curve. So then you draw an MC curve. So MC cuts MR. That's where the firm will produce. Yeah. So this quantity. So in the long run, as you probably know, in perfect competition, firms make a normal profit. So the AC must equal to price at profit maximizing quantity. So at this point, MC is exactly equals to, the price is exactly equal to average cost. Okay. Okay. So as you can see here, the price is equal to the average cost at the profit maximizing quantity. Yeah, they're equal. So they're making normal profits in the long run. Okay, so what you notice here is that the firm will produce at Q, and at Q, what you notice is that MC equals to MR, so they're profit maximizing. And while this also equals to AC, right? You can see that. And furthermore, it also equals to AR. So MC equals to MR, this tells us that they're profit maximizing. MC equals to AC, this tells us that it's productively efficient. MC equals to AR, this tells us that it is going to be allocatively efficient. Okay, so it achieves allocative and productive efficiency. You can show that by this diagram. Okay, so I hope that you guys are following on so far. Okay, so if you guys are ready, we can go straight to the next argument. Okay, so let's see it. The next argument is that, so just now I already told you, you first look at productive and allocatively efficient, right? Allocative efficiency. So we can take that off because we have already done that. Okay, so now let's look at the second component, which is price and quantity. Okay, so in terms of price and quantity, the point is that monopolies is higher price and lower quantity. So now I'll tell you how to explain that. So again, you can explain that by using a diagram. Okay, so a monopoly diagram, price and quantity right here. Okay, So, okay, let me just position this a bit better. Monopoly diagram. Okay, so now let's look at a monopoly diagram. Okay, so right here, quantity and price. Okay, so downward sloping demand curve as usual, and then an MR curve that's twice as steep. Okay, and then an MC curve right here. So the firm is going to, a monopoly will produce where MC equals to MR, right? So at this price and this quantity right here. Okay, but remember what we said about perfect competition. Perfect competition firms will always be allocatively efficient. So it will produce where MC equals to AR for perfect competition markets. Okay, so MC equals AR takes place here. You can see that, right? So hence, just from this diagram, you already showed that perfect competition produces at a lower price because perfect competition produces where MC equals AR at right here at P2, okay, and Q2. On the other hand, monopolies produce where MC equals to MR right here at price P and quantity Q. Okay, so pretty simple diagram that can be used to illustrate an important concept. That's monopolies tend to charge higher price and lower quantity. Okay, so if you guys are ready, we can go straight to the next concept. Okay, so another point about price and quantity, however, is that there's something else. That is, monopolies can have economies of scale. So economies of scale refers to decreases in the average cost due to large-scale production. Monopolies can be large firms, right? Because they are the only firm in the market. And when monopolies have economies of scale, they can lower cost, and this could lead to lower prices and higher quantity. Okay. So this would be an argument against the statement because it is saying that monopoly could actually be better than perfect competition. Okay, and that's possible with economies of scale. So I'll repeat again: it lowers the cost and therefore lower prices. That's the first argument for another argument for in terms of price and quantity. So now, after we talked about those 2 points, we have also covered price and quantity. So we're done with the first 2. So now let's look at other points. Okay, so what other points are here? So I would recommend 2 for you to memorize about monopolies. The monopolies have 2 advantages. The first is it's called natural monopoly. So what does natural monopoly mean? Natural monopoly is a monopoly that exists because the market would not exist if it were not a monopoly. Okay, so in other words, the market can only exist as a monopoly, and that's due to high cost of production. Okay, so let me give you an example. That is like like a railway system in most countries, right? So in most countries, the railway system is a monopoly. Why is that? And the reason is because the cost of production is too high. So if there were 2 firms in the market, both will be making a loss because there will be insufficient demand for each firm, right? So that's what natural monopolies are. Natural monopolies are markets that would only exist if it were a monopoly, and that's due to extremely high cost of production, which means that if there were 2 firms, both firms will be making a loss. But why is this? You may ask, why is this a good thing? Why is this a good thing for monopoly? That's because oftentimes these markets have, you can say that natural monopolies could have social benefits. For example, railway system is important infrastructure for economic activity, right? So in natural monopoly, basically, these markets would not exist if we were not a monopoly. And these markets provide benefits to the society, and therefore this makes monopoly a desirable market structure. Okay. The final argument I would say is research and development. So that's something that only monopolies could do, and perfect competition could not. So why is that? It's because monopolies, as you know, they can make abnormal profits in the long run, right? Abnormal profits in the long run. The reason is because there are high barriers to entry that blocks other firms from entering the market. Okay, so this means that other firms could not compete for the monopoly's abnormal profits, so they can keep on making abnormal profits in the long run. And this allows for monopolies to invest in research and development because they have these significant abnormal profits. On the other hand, perfect competition, no abnormal profits in the long run. They will not have sufficient funds to invest in research and development. Okay, so this is it for this essay in terms of the body. And your conclusion, for conclusion, I think, to be honest, some teachers say you need to have have a clear stance, but honestly, I don't think so. I think as long as your conclusion makes sense, it's fine. Let me give you an example. So, for example, you can say something like, monopolies are not allocative in productive efficiency, unlike perfect competition. However, the large scale of production can bring about certain advantages, such as economies of scale and research and development. Okay, so as you can see, this type of essay structure is very easy to follow, right? So you always look at three things for comparing market structures: allocative efficient and productive efficient, price and quantity, and lastly, other points. Okay, so let's look at the marking scheme, and you'll see how effective this approach really is. Okay, so as you could see here in the marking scheme, what you see is that let's look at one point at a time. So definition, you will have that in your first introductory paragraph, right? And then allocative and productive efficiency, well, that's what I taught you to do anyways, right? So you have looked at that. Achievement of allocative efficiency, yep. Diagrams illustrating above, yes, we did that. Productive efficiency, yes, we did that as well, okay? And then allocatively inefficient in monopolies, yep, we covered that. Productive inefficiencies monopoly, yes, we have done that. And possible economies of scale, we have covered that as well. Therefore, lower cost and prices, okay? And then abnormal profits provide funds in monopoly for research and development. Great. So see, we have covered 99% of the points in the mark scheme, and that is what you will be trying to do. Okay. So remember, what I said just now is that every essay is the same. So let me show you another example that you can apply the exact same method and write as level 7 essay as well. Okay. Okay. Let me find a question. Okay, so now, as I said, every essay is the same. So now let's look at a very similar question to the last one. Okay, so this question asks you to compare perfect competition with monopolistic competition. So again, as I said, you look at three things, right? The first is productive and allocatively efficient. And as you may all know, monopolistic competition has exactly the same diagram as monopoly. Okay, so therefore, in terms of allocative and productive efficient, it's actually, you write down the exact same thing, the exact same explanation as the last question. So monopolistic competition are not productive and allocatively efficient, just like in monopoly. Perfect competition are allocatively and productively efficient. Okay, so because monopolistic competition and monopoly has the same diagram, you can also say perfect competition has lower price and higher quantity. Okay, just exactly the same as just now. And also monopolistic competition also could have economies of scale, although it's unlikely. Okay, so there could be economies of scale in monopolistic competition, which lowers the cost of production. Okay, so this could lead to lower prices, which is good for consumers. Okay, so this would be argument against, because this is you're trying to explain why monopolistic competition is good, right? Okay, so we already looked at allocatively efficient, productively efficient, and also price and quantity. So now we look at other points. So the two main other points for monopolistic competition are these two right here. Consumer choice. So because in monopolistic competition there's differentiated goods, right? So that means there's more consumer choice compared to perfect competition where goods are homogeneous. Okay. And in terms of non-price competition, so in monopolistic competition, firms do not only compete in terms of price due to product differentiation. So for example, there could be advertising, there could be improvement in product quality, there could be more product variety provided by firms. These are all forms of non-price competition, which is going to benefit consumers. Okay, so as you can see, not much thinking required. You always follow the same structure: productive, allocatively efficient, price and quantity, and other points. Okay, so that works for all market structure question, even if it's comparing perfect competition with oligopoly, monopolistic competition with monopoly, exactly the same thing. Okay, so I hope that this video helped you guys today. And if you want this kind of, if you want a methodology, if you want to be sure that you can get a level 7 without a lot of hassle, you can register for a free trial at HK Excel Education Center, and we'll help you live, and we'll also answer all of your questions.